Hi everyone, this is Josh Culp. We are studying Daf Shvui, and I am on the road this week. I happen to be in Gaithersburg, Maryland right now, so you're from there. A shout out to you. I wanted to talk very briefly about something Rashi does at the very beginning of the sugya and talk about how important that is, and there's a little bit of critical thinking among Rashi, in Rashi's thought. The Gemara talks about the difference between a Breita it seems to say that you can, under certain circumstances, return a get, whereas the Mishnah says if he finds it immediately, he can return it, but if not, we're suspicious that maybe it dropped out of somebody else's hands, and even though the names might be the same, we have to be concerned whether or not this is a different get, in which case it wasn't written with this particular man, by this particular man, with this particular woman in mind. So Rabbah comes along and distinguishes them, and it's a little confusing here because Rabbah says one is a case where there are not caravans. When there are not caravans, we're not concerned whether it dropped from somebody and this is another get. And another is that there are caravans. In that case, we are concerned that there might be another person with the same name who passed by there. But then the Gemara goes on and says, even if caravans are there, the only reason not to return them is that if we assume that there are two people with the same name in one city. Now, the question really is, when you're first reading that, it sounds like Rabbah is making a complicated statement. That he's saying two things. First of all, he's dividing between a case where there are caravans and when there are not caravans. And then he goes on and says, even if there are caravans, you can still return it unless there's two people. We know that there's two people with the same name. But that doesn't really make sense, right? If Rabbah made all of those statements, he could have just said that if there's not two people with the same name, then we're never concerned. We certainly should have led with that. So Rashi said right away, right off the bat, says this is not Rabbah's words. And that's because the rest of the Gemara is sort of debating, was Rabbah talking about a case even when we know that there were two people, or only when we know that there weren't two people, or that there were two people? Sorry for the confusion. Or is Rabbah talking about any case where caravans are found, right? That's the debate throughout most of the rest of the Gemara. Just to say that one more time, Rabbah says if caravans are found, you can't return the get. Caravans are normally there. And then the Gemara says, no, that's only, to Rabbah, that's only a case where there are two people with the same name. But the rest of the Gemara really tries to figure out, did Rabbah refer to a case where there are two people with the same name or not? What I want to point out is how important it is to know the contours of Rabbah's original statement, that it's hard to understand the rest of the Gemara without knowing that. And Rashi, right off the bat, tells you that's not part of Rabbah's statement in order to let you know that if you want to understand the rest of the Gemara is going to be debating, is Rabbah referring to all situations or only a situation where we know there are two people with the same name? So I think that's an interesting critical remark of Rashi, both as a thinker and as somebody who's previewing the rest of the Gemara. He generally won't tell you when an Amora statement begins and ends. But in this case, he tells you, because if he didn't tell you, you wouldn't understand the rest of the Gemara. So this might be the last video you see before Pesach. If not, maybe there'll be next week's video. I want to wish everybody a Chag Sameach, Chag Kasher V'Sameach, and I hope you all enjoy your Seders.